when I go to the judge tomorrow and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm mentally ill."
My fellow Americans, as well as South Koreans, Japanese, Mexicans, Russians, feminists, incels, anyone who might want to be enjoying this video right about now, we've got some news. And you're going to be waking up the whole neighborhood with the cheering you're about to be doing. Court cometh for Jonathan Somalithan. He just got tried. I believe it'll have been 2 days ago as of the time I can pump out this video. But regardless, this is just great. This idiot. It's shocking how people like this exist. In terms of moral reprehensibility, at least by my standards, he's not quite the most evil person alive or anything, but he's definitely one of the types that has the least amount of dignity, and he's still a pretty bad guy, but at the same time, he's also a coward, so realistically, there's worse people in this world than Johnny Somali, some of which are also pretty internet famous in their own right, but no one throws away their dignity just quite like Johnny does. Now brace yourself, Americans, I got some bad news. He might be coming back one day. Yes, odds are very likely. He'll be sentenced in South Korea. That much is certain. His fate is already sealed in that regard. But even after he gets sentenced, he'll still be deported and then serve his time. And where do you think a United States citizen gets deported? I'm happy to see Johnny facing punishment, but unfortunately, as I said in my last video, I don't want him back, not even in our prisons. He's not good enough for them, but he is one of our people, unfortunately. So I guess it's only fair that America takes responsibility for her delinquent son. That being said, while that's liable to happen, he's at least not going to be coming back for another year or so. Johnny can't be deported until he is given all his court dates, and they say he's going to be in courts for at least a year. Boy's going to be accruing more and more prison sentences. So far he's up to 1 year. I think he needs 10 years. Like, I really do want Johnny Somali to face 10 years in prison for all he's done. You might think that's kind of harsh, but remember CX? That little gang of degenerates that his homeboy Ice Poseidon leads? Although it's not easy to take him seriously, Johnny was unfortunately being serious about that. And while Ice Poseidon might be the leader, Johnny is the mascot. For reasonable individuals like you and me, it's inconceivable, but Johnny does have a fan base. Granted, it's not very big, it's still there. So that's why I say he needs the harshest sentence, to set an example for the rest of the losers. This never would have gone so bad if these kinds of people had never been enabled for as long as they were. And as we've seen, a punch in the face is comedy, but they don't learn anything from it. And yes, CX has been terrorizing Asian countries, genuinely hurting innocent people. So I'm fully on team, don't let him see daylight till 30 at least. So how did the trial go? Well, pretty badly for Johnny. He got drunk the night before court and held a stream, which we'll go over that in a bit. It's really cringy, but also just funny as fuck. But anyways, this night of inebriation only helped to dig him in deeper. Not like it would have mattered. He could have done everything right and still got a sledgehammer to the wrist. However, it did make things worse for him because of it. Johnny was an hour late to his own trial. He was wearing a MAGA hat, which if you saw my other video, you already know how angry that gets me as an American patriot whenever I see him in it. But the South Korean judicial officials didn't really like it either. They told him to remove it on multiple occasions. He didn't even have his own suit, so he had to borrow Hank's, this guy he was staying with. It didn't fit him either, so he looked stupid as ever. He also had a water bottle, which he got in trouble for bringing. That and the MAGA hat, so another instance of him shooting himself in the foot pretty much. And then there was 4 charges, 3 of which had only been addressed. The 4th was a new obstruction charge, and get this! Johnny's lawyer didn't even know about it, and given his room temperature IQ, Somali himself certainly didn't either. Johnny also got a 5th charge for accidentally releasing some deep fakes on his stream as well. There was the fish thing. Another charge came from him twerking on people in the subway, which I'm surprised he even survived long enough to make it to court for that one. Playing loud music. And they didn't mention this one. but it's possible that he gets another charge for interrupting a concert. A televised offense, mind you. But that's not confirmed yet to my knowledge, so don't quote me on that. And these crimes are just for a single district. So it seems apparent that Johnny will be facing anywhere up to possibly dozens of charges. All of which I suspect he's going to have to return to court for each and every one of them. So like I said, he's probably going to be deported back to the United States eventually. But don't worry regardless, because he could still spend possibly years in court, all because of these charges. The process is the punishment, more so than the actual punishment, if anything. That's why a lot of the lawyers covering this, like Legal Mindset, they're pretty excited. Which I am too, so I get it. Now, I don't know how well Johnny's gonna take it. I don't think any of us care that much. But it is an interesting thought all the same. He was lying in court too, which is a big no-no. It's a huge no-no-no. And that's a common theme, I think, among folks with no respect for the law. Like compulsive lying, basically. But I just don't get it. He literally lied about the guy he was staying with. Did he really not think that would catch up to him with all the people that have hacked him and doxed him in Korea, and the courts literally having his name on file in the system, his location and whatnot? How exactly did he think that would play out? I'll tell you something. The answer is he probably wasn't thinking. Not a good look for Johnny in the court department, but let's talk about that night of drinking now. And brace yourself, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't seen these clips already, you can check them out on X. But if this is your first time watching, you need to come in with a heavy heart and a strong mind. Like I said earlier, it's funny as fuck to me, but it's still really cringy. It may be hard to watch. So let's watch it.
When I go to the judge tomorrow and say, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm mentally ill. I don't know what's going on. I have a bipolar disorder. And what may I do? I left my medication in America. I don't know what's happening, Your Honor. Please help me. I am a psychopath. I plead mentally insane. And they say, okay, go home with a fine of $500. What is this gonna say?
So I had to censor this well-spoken and polite young man. Turns out Johnny likes to utilize his N-word pass privileges when he's drunk. He ultimately didn't go down this route. He pleaded guilty to every single charge, which was probably the best thing he could do, but he's still done so much, he's still fucked, you know? But yeah, the insanity plea, that would not be a good idea. At least in jail, you aren't bound and you still have some rights. But if you get locked up in an asylum, your freedom is gone, so you're still locked up. He's not going back to America with a $500 fine or anything like that. And more than that, you're in a straitjacket, so your arms are bound. You have no freedom. People in that place, they look at you like a psychopath or a freak, because you might as well be one. Obviously, you still need help, but they're gonna treat you like you're inhuman. So it was really good on him to not go down this route. He would have regretted it. I don't think anyone else would have, but he would have. And then this smile, it kind of just shows you everything. These clips were pre-court date, of course. Johnny's last night as a free man, we'll say that. And it's obvious that he just thought he was gonna get away with it. Not just thought, but was completely and utterly certain of it. And according to Atozy, they didn't allow cameras in there, so we'll never get to see this footage, unfortunately. He also had this same smile until they read the charges. So you can sort of see pre-court date Johnny Somali here, basically. Pretty nice stuff. There's a lot more clips, like one of him puking, one where he was blurting out the N-word 1,000,000 times a minute, a few where he's complaining about untranslated court documents. I think one of them was even about the fifth charge that suddenly came up. Just all around, a wild night belonging to a guy who does not have his life together whatsoever. And I mean, not all of us do, but imagine just being up all night, you get drunk, off like 2 shots, mind you, Johnny's a real lightweight, and then you start live streaming, which you aren't even legally allowed to do. Your work visa is also terminated. You cannot leave the country. So you're trapped in a place with people who hate you with justifiable reason. You can't even legally make any money, so it's low-key like just them starving you over the course of time by cutting off all your financial capabilities. All while your freedom hangs in the balance just hours away from this moment. Talk about a real low. And if it couldn't get any worse, your own bad decisions and your own stupidity are only further dragging you down. Because he's actually said like a lot of stuff in this stream, talking shit about the judges, stuff like that, which would only go to further screw him later. Like, you almost feel bad for the guy until you remember it's Johnny Somali we're talking about. This was all more than deserved, and honestly, quite necessary. But yeah, that's about it for now. Take it easy.